As you may notice from the background around me, I am not in the garden today. I'm in fact in sunny and warm enough Copenhagen. And one of my favorite things about urban gardening is just the creativity that a lot of people have for growing green things in places that green things don't normally grow. So I thought I'd bring you along and show you the cool things I see and maybe add a little commentary on the way. So let's get into it. Starting things off, I'm going to give you a bit of a spoiler. At this time of year, you can find daffodils at every corner of the city, often juxtaposed with either evergreen plants and trees or dormant cut-down shrubs like you can see here. While I love daffodils, I can safely say that I've never seen this many in my life, but there's a reason for their prevalence. In Danish culture, daffodils are called this, which translate to Easter lilies, and they hold significant symbolism particularly associated with the Easter season. Their vibrant yellow flowers are emblematic of spring's arrival and the themes of renewal and new beginnings. During Easter, it's customary for Danes to decorate their homes and shops with daffodils, which creates a festive and fresh atmosphere that celebrates the start of a new season, particularly after a generally bleak and cold winter. This tradition reflects the broader Danish appreciation for nature and the changing seasons, with daffodils serving as a cheerful herald of warmer days ahead. Their love of spring flowering bulbs is not limited to daffodils, though, as a close second in prevalence is a huge variety of crocuses, which I'll show you as we move along. At the root of most urban gardening is a heavy and clever reliance on containers, which is how I got my start, and one thing I noticed quite a bit here was the use of corten steel, which is a type of steel alloy that can form a stable external layer of rust that eliminates the need for painting and overall maintenance. Its use makes a lot of sense here because all of that rain, which we thankfully didn't experience, puts in the work to develop this beautiful color. Walking from our hotel the first day, I saw 99% beautiful plants, but one of the first corten steel planters I saw had these sad fake plants that were breaking apart, which is just kind of sad and funny. What made up for it shortly thereafter was a spontaneous walk through this park, which is where I discovered the insane amount of crocuses coming alive. While the park was still beautiful, I just know that in a few months it'll be even more stunning. I found some pretty cool looking ducks, which my wife made fun of me for filming, and then more crocuses. A lot of the dormant trees and shrubs were just starting to wake up, as you can see here with the first signs of green leaves and little flowers popping up. A tree that I came to discover and love was what I am fairly certain is a Cornelian cherry, which provided a lovely pop of yellow across the city to accompany the daffodils. Leaving the park was this beautiful ivy-covered building, which is the bane of my existence in my garden, but beautiful to observe here, though I will show you a more hardcore ivy setup towards the end of this video. Another first of many discoveries was these olive trees, which I found many more times used in containers, particularly outside of restaurants. First time walking over the water, absolutely stunning. More corten steel and some wood containers, and this had either a ranunculus, parsley, or buttercup in it. This was all in Nerebro, which I didn't find to have as many plants as other parts of the city, but the streets were still beautiful. Walking back over, I found this beautiful array of daffodils, which is ultimately what prompted me to research their symbolism more. A similar discovery I had many times were these little gourd-looking volunteers between pavers, which I'm convinced is some sort of gourd, but it's hard to identify at this stage. Shortly after, we decided to visit the Botanical Garden, which I'll admit was hopeful at best this early in spring, and I would best compare it to visiting LA on a rainy day. Still nice, but not the normal vibe that you'd expect. It was still lovely to spot some things starting to poke through, including more crocuses and some lovely plants for sale to take home, which I obviously can't do right now. Teleporting to the city center, I found many a plant for sale, including some of the aforementioned olive trees, rosemary, ranunculus, and a stunning variety of cut tulips. More daffodils and another supermarket also selling a wide variety of beautiful things. We stopped in here to take a look, and tell me these little glass mushrooms and fruits with eyes on them aren't the most adorable things you've ever seen. If that didn't make it obvious that I'm a sucker for all things garden related, we walked by a shop that had a greenhouse that, wouldn't you know it, had garden-y shirts in it. I guess I'm just like a fish that takes the bait, though for the record, I did not buy the shirt. On day 2, we decided to visit a flea market, and while I unsurprisingly found more daffodils, I also found a stunning farmer's market, which I love to observe while traveling as it kind of gives me a fun insight into what's available there and what might be different. Starting off was a lot of herbs, and this watercress, which is admittedly funny and confusing in name because its botanical name is Nasturtium officinale, not to be confused with nasturtium, whose botanical name is Trupaolum. Next to the watercress, we have peas in a similar format to how we get basil in the States while it's still in soil. Beautiful strawberries and a delicious range of mushrooms, fennel, citrus, and maybe it's just the novelty, but I always find the terms courgette and aubergine so much more fun than zucchini and eggplant. I was pleasantly surprised by these beautiful striped tomatoes, which remind me of my beloved Berkeley tie-dyes. We've got radicchio, artichokes, more delicious citrus, and these beautiful bouquets. Delicious apricots, my beloved peppers, and more mushrooms, but just take a special look at these beautiful morels and these stunning trumpets. More beautiful tomatoes, and then I'm pretty sure these are Mimosa sensitiva, which is a fun little novelty plant that wilts when you touch it. Now over here we have a redemption arc for the nasturtium, and this is so cool because I've never seen it in this ready-to-grow format, again, akin to how we have basil in the States. Funny enough, if you look closely, it's not one or two big plants, but more like 20 small ones, which looks nice at this stage, but will quickly deplete the available nutrients, which is how a lot of people struggle when they grow store-bought basil plants. If you separate them and plant them individually, you'll be in good standing, but if you plant the container as a whole or just water, you're bound for a little bit of disappointment at some point, which can be pretty easily discouraging if you don't really understand what's going on. Either way, I'm jealous of this, so farmers markets in the States start growing nasturtium like this so I can get it. More beautiful ranunculus and even more tulips. Little olive trees and of course more daffodils, both growing and ready to plant and cut. Beautiful bouquets and some lovely flower seeds, but I'm not trying to play any games when it comes to flying internationally with seeds, so they're just nice to look at. These dahlias make me so excited for the tubers I planted in my own garden recently, and these poppies and ranunculus are also some of my favorites. Moving back to container gardening, I finally saw some edible varieties, and we've got dinosaur kale in not just one, but 2 containers. Lots more citrus for sale, and now we're on to day 3. One thing I've noticed in shops all around the city is that there are so many healthy fiddly figs, which is no easy feat. Outside the hotel, we've got these super cool Corten steel containers, and upon walking through the city center again, I made a cool discovery wherein these big black containers that I've been seeing are actually sub-irrigated, so there's a tube that goes down to a reservoir at the bottom, which means water is then available and sucked up into the soil by capillary action, and it requires less maintenance. Great way to minimize watering. Plants aside, this is really such a pretty city, though at this time of year, it is indeed pretty cold too. I didn't realize it at the time, but the park we walked through next goes all the way back to the 17th century and is called the King's Garden. It's showing the same signs of early spring as the other parks, where we've got some crocuses popping through the ground and those cornelian cherries blooming again. Truly so much crocus, and I think it makes for such a fun and funny layout at this stage of growth because there's not really any symmetry, but I love it. More beautiful trees, and then there was this beautiful garden at the center, which I'm sure is absolutely stunning during the late spring and summer. Beautiful symmetrical pruning on the trees, and then just outside were these Corten steel planters that had some yarrow growing in them, which was my first sighting in the city of it. Overall, I love the greenery of Copenhagen and look forward to coming back when everything is in full bloom someday. This is an entirely different climate than what I'm used to, and it's inspiring to see different approaches to growing and different things in bloom. As promised earlier, here's that tree getting absolutely run down by ivy, and I hope you've had as lovely a time touring the city with me as I have. If you've enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to see more videos on gardening and all things growing. And if you enjoyed this video, let me know down in the comments. This has been Aaron, aka Garden Zaddy, and I'll see you in the next one.